All right, folks, here we are, our sixth week we're at, which, if you're keeping score for the entire semester, is week 14, I believe. But this is week 6 of our 1102 half. So the end is near. What is left? Well, you guys had the poetry selections that I had assigned last week. That was during your spring break, but still, you should have found time to read Those Who Walk Away from Omelas, our last fiction example, which was in the which was in the, I think, symbol chapter 7 in our backpack literature. And then I gave you guys a nice smattering of poems, and I tried to run the gamut. Modern poetry, a Shakespeare example, some ranging through the years, through the different traditions and schools, to try to immerse you guys and subject you to as much poetry as possible. Because your final essay, of course, is on Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, who himself was a poet and wrote that play in verse, okay, verse poetry, okay? So we're trying to kind of get your toes wet here, thinking of poetry. And this week, too, your second literary analysis essay is due on Edgar Allan Poe's Annabel Lee. I've given you guys the prompt, the instructions, how you need to approach the poem, and on what you need to write, okay? Basically, I want you guys to respond to the idea, the kind of larger theme of the poem. Poe deals with sort of talking about this idea of undying love and eternal love. And he's using it through the notion of the beautiful woman, okay? And how there's nothing more poetical, Poe actually said, than a beautiful woman, the power and allure and transcendent majesty of the beautiful as embodied by the woman, okay? And how is he dealing with that in his poem Annabel Lee, talking about these themes of eternity and love and beauty, okay? It's an easy poem to commit to memory, not suggesting that you do that or that you have to do that, but it is kind of a fixed form. It's musical, okay? There is a sort of predictable meter, rhyme to it, which aids in your understanding of it, I would argue, okay? It's not some esoteric postmodern poem. It is it's a story. It's something we could follow. It's a narrative, all right? So you should have, it's not as difficult as, say, Virginia Woolf's Haunted House, which, speaking of that, those papers are almost all returned to you, excuse me, by the viewing of this video right here. Some were better than others. Overall, they were fairly decent. But I'm hoping that the quality of the second essay will be more consistently good, let's say. Maybe a little more complete, comprehensive approach to this second essay subject, please, than the first one. I understand the first one, that story was a little challenging. But this one should be a little more user-friendly, the Poe poem and the second paper, okay? So please do that and do it well. And if you ever need help, remember, I'm here. Your proctor, Miss Evans, of course, is available as well. So please use us as resources. Let's pivot to what is lurking in the shadows and what is coming up at the end on the 5th of May, your final essay on Dr. Faustus. The particular act and scene in our book specifically is due. The instructions, the prompt, the parameters for the essay are now, and this is the second week in which they've been in there, in Blackboard. Okay, you could go into our writing materials folder and you will see the description there. Okay, so have you guys done any research in Galileo? Have you started looking at what other scholars and literary critics in their academic journal articles have said about what I want you guys to view about explore about salvation, the nature of salvation? in this play. And do you buy that Faustus is truly repentant? He says he is, but it's too late. Okay, why is it too late? How has he crossed the Rubicon, a point of no return? And is that the case in life? Are you ever beyond redemption or salvation? And this doesn't just apply to those of you who might be more on the atheistic ends of things. You don't have to be a believer per se to understand and value these concepts of forgiveness, of redemption as well, of bettering yourself, of righting your wrong, of making up for your, as religious folks would call it, your sin, or Christian at least. So how do you make up for that? How does Christopher Marlowe deal with these ideas? Marlowe himself, by the way, it's said that he was an atheist. Okay, to be an out loud atheist during the 16th and 17th centuries, well, that's dangerous stuff. He was also homosexual, which also is not is treading on thin ice, letting that known hundreds of years ago. We're not in 2019, okay? So, interesting biography about the man himself, Christopher Marlowe. You guys might, a quick Wikipedia search might give you some insight into the man himself. Remember, he's a contemporary of Shakespeare's. It's said that Marlowe might have written Shakespeare's plays, or some of them, which I've been told by my advisors and professors in graduate school is fluff, hogwash, not true. Okay, all a lot of speculative rumor, which might be compelling and intriguing, but ultimately probably not true. But it might be worth doing a little dive on the man himself, okay, to get some context and understanding of where his perspectives might be seeping through the play itself in terms of salvation and God and good and evil and all that fun stuff, okay? So I hope you guys are geared towards the play, and especially the part in the book that's we're focusing on when he makes his pact with Mephistopheles, okay? When he actually kind of sells his soul. And I've given you guys the play itself. You could actually see the whole thing acted in that link that I emailed to you all a couple of weeks ago. Why not watch the play? Plays are meant to be performed and viewed. Watch it, okay? You have wonderful Shakespearean-trained actors doing this for you, okay? And if you guys want to see a little movie recommendation here, speaking of selling your soul to achieve your dream or greatness, I just saw, well, first of all, I saw the new remake of Stephen King's Pet Sematary Friday. Huge fan of the original 80s film, just finished the novel too. So I was super pumped about the new version, which I thought was overall pretty good. Took some risks, went in a different direction, some pros and cons to it. But the directors of that film, they co-directed a film about 5 years ago, 2014, called Starry Eyes, like stars, Starry Eyes, okay? It's about an aspiring actress in Hollywood who is willing to do whatever it takes to get her foot in the door, get that entry-level role to kind of propel herself to stardom. And she makes a Faustian bargain, okay? She, without giving too much away, in case you guys want to watch the film, which is very bloody and gory and creepy and scary, but I like that stuff, she sells her soul to a devil-like character, okay, to achieve her ultimate end. What does she lose because of that? Is her soul corrupted? Does it spell her downfall? Something else? Okay. Might be worth looking at that film. Or this theme is played out in many, many other films and stories. We have that term, a Faustian bargain. When you sell your soul to achieve greatness, it usually comes at a cost, okay? Think of I lost my train of thought here. Point being, there are many examples of this idea. Oh, this is what I was going to say. On Netflix, there's a show called Sabrina, which is kind of a reimagining of the show from the 90s, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's a show about a young girl, Sabrina, who's going through her training of the dark arts at the school for the witches and warlocks and such. Anyway, the headmaster at that school, fun little fact here, is called Faustus. That's his name, Faustus. Okay, which I found to be kind of interesting and compelling. A damned soul who has sold himself out, you could say, to the devil. All right. So my whole point being is that this idea of salvation and the damned soul is not just constrained to this Christopher Marlowe play. It's out there in the culture and has been for hundreds of years. Okay. Now, that brings me to another point. You are researching, you are writing about Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, not Faust by Goethe. That spelling of that writer's name is Goethe. Goethe is writing a couple hundred years later in Germany. Marlowe is in England. Similar story, different ending. You are not writing on Goethe's Faust. No, it is Christopher Marlowe's The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus. I just want to make that distinction clear, okay? So for this week, just to kind of recap, I know we've kind of gone afield here, but as things come to mind, I want to tell you guys about it. This week, what is due? Your paper on Annabel Lee, your second analysis essay. Okay, that is due. Look at the announcement for instructions there, directions. I'm going to work on getting more backlogged assignments back to you, should there be any this week. And a blog. Blogs are back. So we have a blog opportunity this week. If you want to comment on readings, assignments, you guys know the drill. Go ahead. And you have an opportunity to receive at least 5 points on your final Faust essay, okay? So, maybe a longer video than usual. We're coming up on the 13-minute mark here, but a lot to talk about. We're coming near the end, folks, so don't go to sleep, as it were, these last few weeks. Be active, be focused, be engaged, talk to each other, talk to me, talk to Miss Evans. Don't be left in the dust, okay? Guys, I hope you have a great week, and let's finish strong, okay? Any questions, you let me know.